I don't answer police questions. I don't ask questions. I don't ask questions. I don't ask questions. Your name, date of birth, anything. He's like, no, I don't. Like, you know, he quotes the Fifth Amendment and he quotes all this, he quotes all that. But I mean, as far as failure to identify, you can unless he's under arrest, not being detained. It's under arrest. It's under arrest. You know.
For arrest? Yeah.
Unless there's probable cause to arrest me, I'd like to be taken out of handcuffs and allowed to be on my way.
That's all you want, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. So what were you doing out here?
Oh, I don't answer questions.
Okay.
The Fifth Amendment protects me from incriminating assaults.
Okay. Yeah, you can identify at that point. Let me see if I can find it, and then we can go off there. Well, it's the fire lane, so we're going to find the vehicle. I'll go as a complaint.
What's up, people? Welcome back to Cameras Everywhere.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cameras Everywhere. We're live with Horizon City News Service, and it's just the camera. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought It's Just the Camera on because I haven't hooked up with him for a minute.
Yeah, he used to live here in Seattle, and we got together. We used to do a couple audits together. Oh, I think we did, 3, 4, 5 videos together?
Yeah, we did a few.
Yeah, no, I knew of that, and you are two of the very few guys from up in the Pacific Northwest, so I was always proud of what you guys do.
True.
So
awesome.
I've been watching your channel, Andre, for I don't know how long, maybe since, I'm not sure how long it's been, but since you had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 subscribers or something like that.
Right.
And you're in West Texas, and you deal with a variety of different agencies up there. I know you've got a lot of encounters with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and Horizon City Police Department, El Paso Police Department. Who else am I missing there?
Well, earlier this summer, I had one of my big fiascos with the El Paso County Constable Precinct 6-1. The reason they have different precincts is because each constable is elected. So each constable office is their own little kingdom. So basically, if you get I live outside the city limit in Horizon City. If you get pulled over by the sheriff or the constable out here, you go to the Justice of the Peace, that's where this summer, back in late May, I just tried filming in the public lobby, and obviously that turned into a circus. And so the constable's office, Precinct 6-1, I was involved with them at that event.
The constable's office. Is that El Paso or?
Yeah, I know it gets confusing. In El Paso County, outside the city limit, or actually even in the city, the entire county is divided into different precincts for each Justice of the Peace, which is an official thing under Texas state law, has its own precinct. And then each precinct has his own little constable kingdom. Now, these constables are still Texas peace officers. They can drive anywhere in the county and arrest people. But they generally don't, but they can. And so normally I don't deal with the constables, but back in May of this year, or of 2021, that's what I was dealing with in that courtroom lobby, was the precinct 6-1 constable office. And then they went behind my back and stabbed me in the back and got a pocket arrest warrant and had me arrested.
So I see, like, on your channel, you have not just cop watch, not just audits and things like that, but you post all sorts of different kind of videos. You post stuff about food, you post stuff about cars for sale, or different events in the city that you're living in, right?
Right.
So just give me a little background on you, like, where are you from?
Yeah, I mean, originally I'm not from this part of the country. Originally I'm from the East Coast in the Washington, D.C. area. But I moved here many years ago for many different reasons, primarily because of just the cost of living and the pace of life where I came from. And overall, despite everything I've been through with law enforcement here, I still love El Paso. I love West Texas. I mean, I have way more good things to say about this place than bad things. And that's the problem with YouTube, is that, especially if you build a channel like mine, where it's all this negative stuff, it's like it only gives a lens of negativity a lot of the time. But actually, 95% of my life here is actually very nice and peaceful.
Mm-hmm. So of all the agencies you deal with, which behave the best under your scrutiny?
I mean, I'm not a king. I'm not in charge of anything. But if you want to use those words, my scrutiny, I'd say that as of right now, the Horizon City Police Department is doing what I consider to be a decent job. They're being decent cops. I mean, I don't feel like I'm about to go to jail when I record them. Like when I go in front of the El Paso Police Department, I have hair sticking up on the back of my neck, and I'm wondering if I have money for bail. I mean, it's a whole different ball game in the city.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah, and you can see that from my recent video from January 15th. I mean, I was doing everything in my power to, like, not be disrespectful and just mind my own business and I was like a good distance away and everything. And that one guy just started marching up to me and would just not leave me alone. I mean, and that's not the first time I've dealt with that behavior from the El Paso police.
Yeah, there seems to be, like, at least one officer who always kind of wants to step out in front of the others and get things kicked off, you know, like he wants to go ahead and get things started so everybody else can join in, because he knows he's got all of his big bad brothers there with him to go ahead and deliver the beat down should you decide to exercise your rights or not obey everything that they tell you to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's even worse than that for me here, because since I'm literally, and I'm not even trying to say this to, like, beat my own chest or put a crown on my head, but since I'm literally the only cop watcher in the entire county, I'm like targeted. Like,
yeah, sure.
I literally have the entire law enforcement community. The ones who are bad apples, when they see me, they know my face and they have plans for me. I mean, I can't blend in anywhere because, like, I am the only cop watcher. It's a whole different ballgame for me.
Yeah.
The video that you were talking about, where the guy comes up and gets in your face, to me, and I said this in I think you're talking about the same video that I covered on cameras.
Oh yeah, right? Exactly. That's the one.
So to me, that guy seems like that he wants to hurt you, that he wants to make physical contact with you, and that he wants to go hands on. He looked evil.
Exactly, and then the video only partially does the scene justice. If you had your boots on the ground and you were standing there watching, it's much worse in person, because when you're actually doing it and you have the guy's breath on your cheeks, like, it's a whole different thing. Than the camera's bad enough. But yeah, you're right. I knew exactly what his intentions were. I've been arrested by them before, so there's things that you guys haven't seen on camera. Like when I'm in handcuffs during booking, I have the entire police department, or at least a large portion of them, deliberately come to my holding cell to like, you know, stare at me or say nasty stuff to me. I mean, it's personal with them. They do not like me. Yeah.
So I review a lot of videos for Cameras Everywhere, and one of the police departments that just pops up all the time with these horrible videos is the El Paso Police Department.
Right.
Or the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. I mean, there's so many videos of people getting abused by them. And
Right.
it's just never ending. I just see their name just all the time, you know. And actually most of the time I see their name, I can't really put the videos on Cameras Everywhere because a lot of it has graphic violence in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything you've seen is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So that's too bad. Every time I watch your videos, and we've talked about this by text before, I can feel the emotion and the rage that you have sometimes behind the camera. And, you know, that I hate to see you that way, but that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of why I enjoy your videos, because I feel the same way. And so I'm feeling empathy with you when you're getting so enraged.
It's kind of like rock music. Yeah.
Like rock music. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, hey guys, real quick, New Mexico Citizen, I think it was called. He called that person that I was referring to the escalator.
Yeah, the
That's
escalator.
Funny. And then Record America just popped in and said hello, and then News Now Australia popped in from Perth, Australia. I just happened to notice that.
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Tommy says that iJack is legendary.
The power company. that was legendary.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting down to Texas to come and visit you. We're trying to come down to Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're kind of waiting on a place. We have a friend down there, and he's going to try to find us a place, so we're just kind of waiting on that.
Yeah. Moving or even just road tripping is even before COVID, it was already a difficult thing, especially for a family guy like you.
So, Andre, why did you start recording the police?
Why did I start? I have a pretty typical answer compared to most people. I think it's just, you know, I was, I'm almost 40 now, but at the time I was like, you know, in my mid 30s or somewhere there. And just throughout all of my like middle to late teens, all the way through my 20s and all the way through my early 30s, I'd had all these experiences, obviously, which aren't on camera, where the basic summary I can give is that I felt like I was playing by all the rules. And, you know, I wasn't even, you know, a troublemaker or anything like that. And I was still treated like disrespectfully, or I had some sort of due process right, or maybe more than one that was completely ignored. You know, I just felt like when I would deal with law enforcement or government, but especially law enforcement, that I was like just being, you know, manipulated and just treated like I was their, you know, livestock or something. You know, it just pissed me off. So that's why I picked up a camera.
Mm-hmm. And I think you've been treated pretty much the same, isn't that right? For just a camera?
Oh yeah, no, that's. I mean, the thing that's unfortunate to me is I feel as though even criminals are not treated as poorly as constitutionalists and First Amendment activists are. People who assert their rights seem to be more in the crosshairs of law enforcement than hardened criminals. Criminals basically just kind of get left alone for the most part. You know, they commit dumb crimes, they get arrested. It's like kind of like, oh well, you know, the cops are like, hey, you're the one who keeps you know, keeps food on my table. If there weren't stupid dumb criminals like you going out and carjacking people and stealing stuff and running, I wouldn't really have a job. And it's almost kind of like a bit of a mutual respect thing. And not to say that there's not good cops, and not to say that cops don't ever take criminals off the streets, but just generally. And then you see someone like Andre here who literally exercised his rights to the point where, like, Jedi mind tricked these guys into realizing that they had absolutely nothing on him, And what did they do? Not, hey man, oh, okay, it's all good. Hey, we just want to make sure you weren't up to no good. There's plenty of actual criminals out here that we should be going after. That as soon as we found out that, even though, it kind of, be honest, if it was me, that this is how I used to work, I would have been like, it kind of ticks me off a little bit that you don't want to show me your ID. I feel like, I have a right to see it or whatever. But I get it. Constitution, you're right. It does kind of put us in our place. So if you do slip up, we're going to catch you next time. Just make sure you know that, and then just be on your way. Like, you win some, you lose some. But no, they're like, no, man, like, we're going to get this guy on something. Like, we're not going to let this go. And I just, like, what is that, man? Like, why? Like, you're literally like fighting against the very thing that makes America America. Like, you're not being an American right then. You're basically hating on America.
There's a very I hate to interrupt, but there's a very macho culture where I live here in general, but especially with law enforcement, and especially if there's no actual females on scene. Any type of resistance, not physical but verbal resistance, like asserting your rights, by those people and their mentality, that's considered being anti-law enforcement. And so they'll do anything, whether it's legal or not, to try to get you. It's like, it's like and they're not even thinking about the law. It's all about ego. It has nothing to do with the law. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that clip that I showed right before we started, you see the cop skimming through the fine text to look for something.
But the thing is, and this is what made him look really dumb in my eyes, a lot of people don't realize, including in the law enforcement community, that book he was reading, that's not even the actual Texas Penal Code. So he was reading a general summary guidebook that the law enforcement community makes and saying, oh, let me just, because he asked the guy, oh, do you have the penal code? But that wasn't even the penal code. So whatever he was looking at and reading, that wasn't even the law. So he's basically like just all smoke and mirrors. And then on top of that, calling himself a acting supervisor, quote unquote. He's full of shit. It's just, and it's really scary because that's the guy who's going to show up in your time of crisis when something's going down, like a burglary at your house or whatever. He's supposed to be the supervisor. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. At least not when it comes to civil rights.
Yeah. I would imagine that's got to be extremely frustrating for you because I see your emails. I get copied on some of your emails, and it seems to me you're extremely pedantic and detail-oriented, and that you know what you're talking about.
Well, that's just because I'm half criminal. I've had to learn a couple things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just quite sad. Do you feel like you're educating these guys? Do you feel like you're exposing them, or
the sad
do you fear for your life when you're out there?
Oh yes, and unfortunately I do, and including that last encounter back on January 15th with that one big man that was getting in my face. I'm not even gonna try to front like I'm some tough guy. All that stuff, like even to this day, but especially right after it happened, I'm still coming down off of those events. Like, thinking, because even when I go, literally, it's the little things. Like when I go and sit down on my toilet and take a shit, I literally count my blessings because I like shitting on my toilet, not a jail toilet, my toilet. So I know that it was a very, very close call where I could have been in a jail cell on a steel toilet amongst a bunch of guys I don't want to be around instead of at my toilet. Just little things like that make me really fear. Like it creates a chilling effect. That's what the courts call it.
That's right.
And that's what the police departments are trying to do. They're trying to create a chilling effect, whether it's visible or invisible, because there's a lot of things they do to me behind the scenes, including the 3 charges they have over my head right now. So at all times, there's a lot of things that can't be seen that they're doing. And then there's the stuff you see on camera that they do. So it's like a constant, comprehensive, like a war path they have. But at the same time, they can always step back and say, oh, we're the good guys. He's the bad guy. And unfortunately, most people that live in a conservative place like this, where I live, they buy into that. They're like, yeah, he looks like trouble. Arrest him.
That's something else.
Yeah. But enough about me. How you doing, Cameras?
I've been better.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I'm not doing that bad. My daughter's about to turn 8 months old.
congratulations.
And she just like smiles at me. You know, she's like the happiest baby, and she just smiles nonstop. And you know, when I look at her, I might be feeling down or depressed. I've had some issues with depression. I've been depressed for, I don't know,
Trust me, brother. I feel you.
a decade or maybe longer.
Right.
And you know, when I look at her, she just gives me this big smile, like she's happy about everything, you know, and it just melts away.
Yeah.
And you know, I have checked out a couple of the videos from your wife's channel, and believe it or not, even though I'm hundreds of miles away and I've never even met you face to face, videos like that she made of just family time with you guys, they also make me warm and fuzzy inside. So I'm glad you guys do that.
Who is the guy on the top right? Says cops. It's just a camera. The channel, it's just a camera. He has some videos out of Seattle, Washington, and now he's down in Texas.
Yeah, and it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, don't let that button-down shirt on "It's Just a Camera" fool you. If you rub him the wrong way, he has a mouth too. I've seen it.
It's true. I hate to say it. It's true, but it takes a lot, man. It really does take a lot. I have to be in the presence of extreme injustice, and yeah, man, and I do. It kind of sets me off, man. It honestly does.
Cops asked if you're a former law enforcement officer.
Yes, I am. I was for 11 years total. 11
Federal,
years,
right?
Yeah, 11 years for actual federal law enforcement, and then before that, it was all armed security, private contract armed security, government contract security, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, just not military. I was going to do military. I was going to do military police, but I decided against it. I joined INS instead, and then 4 years later, 9/11 happened, and so we all got sent back to the academy to get retrained as Homeland Security agents with an emphasis in anti-terrorism, which was all that they were talking about at the academy after that. That's all everything was about.
Those were the George Bush years.
Yeah, exactly.
So you told me a story before about where you could have been one of these guys on the video. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which video?
No, I mean you told me a story where you were acting as a law enforcement officer and you had to check yourself and you think.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to say something about that?
You got good memory. Yeah, I was on my way from my apartment, which was close by the building that I worked at, and it's got the big Homeland Security logo out front of it in like a nice gold-plated color and a U.S. flag, and you have to actually get into the parking lot, walk down a little sidewalk to get to the front of the building where this big sign is. And I could see that this guy with his girlfriend were standing out in front of the sign, and they were taking pictures, and the building was closed. It was closed that day. And I just immediately had this feeling of like entitlement, ownership, power hungry, like, oh man, who do these guys think they are? How dare they go up to my building? And I was like, for a minute, I was I'm gonna jump out of here, pull out my badge and be like, hey, federal agent, what the hell do you guys think you're doing here? Huh? You can't come here after hours. Let me see some ID, and like just really be a tough man and show off, you know. And I caught myself, even though like that's how I was feeling. I caught myself. I was like, man, you know what? You better just like come down off that high horse, man. Like that could end up biting you in the butt. Like they've got a camera in their hands. Let's say they don't turn out to be terrified sheep who just run away and beg and plead for forgiveness. Let's say that they flip around and say, hey, you know what? Like we either both work for Homeland Security, or our dad does, or we're studying to be attorneys, or they turn out to be like civil rights activists who like clip the camera face and say, wait a minute, we have every right to be here. This is publicly funded property, which I wasn't even as well versed in it back then as I am now. But I just stopped. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I want any part of that. Let me just go do what I was going to do, which is go to Costco and buy some food and come home. So, it was all that to say that I'm sympathetic. I can understand how that happens. It's kind of like a gang mentality, because I knew that no matter what, you know, my buddies were going to back me up, wrong or right. And it honestly sickened me in a certain way too. I was the one who initiated the thought process, but it also sickened me. And so I was just kind of using that to say that I could relate, but it honestly it bothers me even more about it now when I encounter it, and especially when I experience it, because I know that these guys probably had the same thought pattern, but instead of stopping themselves, they let it overtake them, and they gave into it.
So, Phased wants you to answer the question here on the screen.
Oh, let's see. Why would the Secret Service be using these clear mark cards? That's a uniform division. They are to be very, very visible. The plainclothes Secret Service are more secretive, and they use all like the high-tech devices. But uniform Secret Service, it's a different division. Yeah, they're very visible. They do vehicle stops. They actually, as a matter of fact, the however many square miles are around the White House, uniform division Secret Service are the ones who do all the traffic stops and criminal investigations there. And they also guard all the international embassies. So if an alarm goes off inside the Honduran embassy, that's uniform Secret Service who responds, along with diplomatic security service.
You're bringing back my memories from living in D.C.
Right? Yeah, D.C. was scary to me. I don't know if I'd want to live there. It was a nice place to visit.
Yeah, just try to park your car. Jesus.
Right?
Just the sense of entitlement you were talking about. It's just a camera about, your buddies are going to back you up. It kind of makes me question Andre, because Andre's one of the only people who puts his full name and phone number in all of his video descriptions. He's like, text me. Like a lot of people are trying to hide their identity, and he's not trying to hide his identity at all. He's putting his identity and his phone number and I don't know what else out there.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind that, Andre?
No thinking really. I mean, I'll be honest. A lot of my channel and a lot of my personality comes from a 6-pack of beer. I mean, I don't necessarily plan everything. And after my first couple arrests, I was already infamous, and people would message me and be like, "Yeah, we know who you are. We know where you live." And a lot of them would be law enforcement, so I know they actually looked me up. So I would text them back my actual address and my number. I'd be like, "All right, fuck you, come and see me." And then people would just be like, "Oh shit!" Like, okay, whatever then. Like,
when I started seeing your phone number, I was surprised, like, man. Yeah, when I started seeing your phone number in there, I was surprised. I was like, "Man, this guy's got his phone number in there. He isn't playing around." So, one thing that I'm curious with for both of you guys, and it's just a camera. We've talked about this in the past, is that on cameras everywhere, I try to deracialize all of my content. So I cover content, and if I'm covering content and the original source says, black guy, black woman, this, I always take the race of the person out. And my viewers seem to want it that way as well. If the few times where I thought it was just to include some sort of racial narrative, the viewers don't, at least on cameras everywhere, they don't look kindly on that. So I'm just curious for you guys, how much of a factor does that seem to you where you're at? I read your recent email to Walmart, Andre.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's necessarily related, I guess, all the way, but I'm just curious, do you think it's a huge factor, race relations or your race or ethnicity, or like most people in my comments would say, it has nothing to do with race or has little to do with race? What do you think?
That's the 500-pound elephant in the room. And it's funny you bring up that can of worms, because I was so intrigued about that recent video. I'll talk about myself in a second, but I just want to bring this up because I think this is so perfect to bring up. Is Travis Hines being arrested recently by 3 black police officers in Louisiana for the exact same charge that I got arrested for back in 2017 in Abbeville, Louisiana. And at the time I got arrested for that same charge, I thought at the time, oh, well, maybe it has something to do with racism, which it might have. But his arrest, not that I want him to get arrested, but his arrest by 3 black guys, also 3 tyrants, even though they're black, that proves to me it's not always about race. That's like perfect proof right there. A lot of these situations, it's beyond that. Like, there's plenty of people that have color and plenty of people that are female or transsexual or whatever that are tyrants. And then in regards to me, Yes, obviously, because I'm a colored person, I've had experiences that are negative. A lot of people out there, obviously, in this country will say, "Oh, he's playing the race card or whatever." So I don't consider myself that, but obviously, if I bring that up in any situation, there's going to be people out there that try to say that oh, he's playing the race card. So that's also part of the whole issue with race, is that if you are a minority and you do bring up a complaint, there's always people out there that'll try to dismiss it as like, oh, he's just playing the race card or whatever. So that's also part of the story, I guess. I don't know if I've quite answered your question, but
well, no, I mean, I understand, because that's the comment I get in my channel all the time. If
right.
I won't include race in a video, in the narrative or in the description or the title or anything like that in a video, unless I'm absolutely sure that it has something to do with race. And you can almost never be sure. So
Right.
if you look on my channel, you'll see that it's almost never there.
Right.
But when it is there, even if I think it's just, and even really when it is justified to be there, the viewers, they don't tolerate it. Like, I have longtime subscribers that'll be like, unsubscribed.
Yeah, I mean, the society is so sensitive and woke now that trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, even for example, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. There was actually, right up to the day that Kyle Rittenhouse got acquitted, there was people coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, I didn't realize Kyle Rittenhouse killed a white guy." They thought that whole time that he had killed black people, just because the way the news had twisted everything.
Right. It's like the
And he
news
never
wants
killed
him to
any
have
black people.
killed some black people.
Yeah.
Or something. But I mean, yeah, it's a little strange. I really don't know what to think sometimes. I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that I think the people that watch these videos, they see the police of all different colors and people of all different colors getting abused by the police.
Right.
And they see that they don't like people that know their rights. They don't like people that assert their rights. And that's what they want to hear about. And I'm pretty much in agreement with that.
And some parts of the country are worse than others, because there's a mentality both in law enforcement and also within the community that basically, questioning or video recording or doing anything to rock the boat is automatically anti-law enforcement. And if you're anti-law enforcement, that's automatically like heresy. Like you're a leper. Like, that's just not accepted. Like, they fly blue line flags, they fly the American flag, and then they say that they're all about, freedom and the Constitution. But when it actually gets really granular and you actually try to exercise some of those rights, a lot of people, they're just like, whoa, what's all this? Like, you can't rock the boat. Oh my God. So.
Yeah, it's the same way that football is associated with the U.S. military and with patriotism, and they really don't have anything to do the one with the other,
Right.
other than that football is played in America by Americans. But like, where did the connection between military and football come into play? So it's almost like if you're against football, you're against the military. And then ironically, football is basically, it's like a proxy warfare, and people are bloodthirsty watching these
Right.
games. Hey, cameras, are you keeping track of some of these comments? We got Rice Krispie in here, you know that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I
cool.
put some of them up there. I mean,
Shout out
Man,
to
I
Rice.
love that Navy vet.
I just called him Rice. I said, shout out to Rice.
Rice Krispie. So everyone who's watching, if you're asking a question, put a question mark in there, put a couple, because it's hard for me to tell the difference sometimes between someone talking to someone else in the chat and someone asking a question to Horizon, or so put some question marks on there for me to look at. Wright says the NFL has big contracts with the military.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
And there's an Army-Navy game too, isn't there? Like, they have Army, Air Force, Navy they play.
Yeah, the academies.
Yeah. But no, it's true. Yeah, it's like people associate patriotism with, you got to be pro-law. If you're pro-law enforcement, that automatically means that you don't support, you can't support Antifa, you can't be supporting Black Lives Matter. And I'm not saying any of these organizations are good. I'm just saying that's the way people identify themselves. So your pro law enforcement means that you're probably conservative leaning, that you are against people being against the police, which also unfortunately means you're against accountability for the police. When you can definitely have both, you can definitely have both things. You don't have to hate cops to want to hold cops accountable. And people have been so brainwashed and just like so conditioned, like they just automatically assume that, you go out and turn a camera on, record a police officer. Oh man, yeah, it's like what they said in my lawsuit. It's or what they tried to say with what's his name, the famous case Turner versus Driver, that he was casing the police station to plan an attack. I mean, come on, standing right on the corner on the sidewalk in plain view, recording. It's like.
Not only that, but he was across the street. That was a big deal in the case. Is that he wasn't even on the same block. He was across the street.
Oh, I have not heard of that, Rights Crispy. I've never heard of that. That's crazy. Exchanging a prisoner's ceremony at Army Navy games. That's crazy.
There's some fighting going on here in the chat. Yeah. People are fighting about vaccines in here. It looks like and other things.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, vaccines. Hey, check this out. How about this? I just commented on someone's video today. How about this for going down a deep what do they call it? Deep rabbit hole. What if the vaccines really do protect you from the virus, but they're getting people who they deem to be anti-establishment to talk against them because they know that all the people who are like patriots and who really follow some of these big names and radio and on talk show hosts, that they're going to be like, oh, that guy's against it, I'm not going to get it. And then they basically have the virus affecting people who they don't want surviving the virus, just because based on their previous proclivities towards like conspiracies and like, oh man, it's the government trying to do something. And in reality, it's like really actually something that protects you from it. I don't actually believe that. I really don't. There's too much data against it, but it's just an interesting way of adding yet an extra twist onto something that's already got quite a few twists.
Oh, you're getting me fired up because that's exactly the type of guy I am. I'm always thinking about stuff like that. Yeah.
It's not always what it seems.
Right. Like, for example, the IRS, even if you only earned $5,000 or less in a year, you still have to file a 1040, which tells me it has nothing to do with them necessarily taking people's money, but they want to make sure that they're monitoring who you are, where you live, and just what's going on with you. That's their way of always, you could not file for 10 years, but at least they know, okay, you've already broken the law. We already got you right there. And so then if you do follow the law and file your 1040, now you're being monitored. I mean, it's mother government watching you. Don't even get me started. It's just a camera, because that's exactly what I think about, stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're relinquishing. People ask me, hey, well, what about Willie Nelson? Because I've talked about the tax thing before. And they're like, what about Willie Nelson, man? He got arrested. I was like, that's because he filed his taxes. If he had just not filed taxes, they wouldn't have known how much money he made, or they wouldn't have had. It's almost like you're surrendering your rights. You're saying, hey, here's how much I make, now come after me. That's not me saying don't file your taxes, but
yes, sir, absolutely. And the one thing back in the 1920s during bootlegging that they got Al Capone for was not all the murders he did, but he didn't file his taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
We didn't give our daughter a social security number, and now we can't do anything with her. We can't take her to Brazil. We can't do anything. It's like everything. We tried not to give her a social security number for all the reasons you would expect.
Right.
And it's like now we have to get her a social security number to do anything with her.
And as scary as that sounds, the world that she's going to grow up in, unfortunately, I hate to be a red pill negative guy, but her world is only going to get worse than what we've lived through.
Breaking the Flaw says these psychos are targeting weak people, and now their end game is those who are obedient and can breed.
But you know what? You can't blame the average person. Breaking the flaw is basically saying that everybody out there, most average people, are just like weak sheep. But you got to understand, most normal people don't have live stream meetings on a Friday night talking about how much they hate the police and government. Most normal people are having sex with their girlfriend, they're doing their laundry, they're cooking dinner, they're living a normal life. We're the ones who are weird. We're the ones who are always having conspiracy theories and making cop watch videos and shit like that. Normal people don't do this.
It's true.
It's true. And I don't think normal people understand this either.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why one of the number one negative comments you get is get a job. Go get a job.
Exactly.
Like it's automatically assumed, oh, you can't have a job. If you're out here doing this, that's not what normal people do.
Right.
My number one favorite insult is frauditard. That's my favorite one. That's my favorite one. I love getting all the insults and this kind of stuff. Like I think the comment on the screen is in reference to me as well.
Oh man.
But what's up? Provocation is a virtue.
I'm sorry, did you ask me something?
Oh no, I was just saying what's up to provocation is a virtue. The guy here on the screen. He's a new auditor in Michigan, outside of Detroit.
Oh, okay. He should check out Broken System, Broken Trust. Broken System, Broken Trust is also up there in Michigan.
I think I know Broken System, Broken Trust, but I'm not sure. There's so many channels. It's hard for me to keep up now.
Oh, trust me, I know the feeling. But that's a good thing. That means there's other people who are,
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. At least for the ones that actually care about this stuff. Some of them are just trying to, I don't know. It's all for entertainment, but
it's a good thing when there is here in Texas. It's called the Texas Municipal League. They're basically the ones who back local municipalities when they get sued and when they screw up. They offer a class called First Amendment auditing, and it literally tells them how not to detain photographers unlawfully because there's people exercising their First Amendment right. So you're making a difference when they're starting to actually offer classes that teach police departments, hey, there's going to be people out there recording you. They're going to criticize you. And they're basically saying, don't get triggered because you're going to make the next viral video. And yet still, the word doesn't seem to be getting out there because look at all the videos popping up every day.
I'm glad you bring that up. It's just a camera because it's very, very important. And I found this out the hard way earlier this year, back in May, that whenever someone does decide to pick up a camera, your whole mindset needs to change if you're going to have the balls to walk into a government building. Having your 2 feet on a public sidewalk and filming a traffic stop is one thing. But if you decide to walk into a government building, it's a whole different ballgame legally. So that's a whole nother topic I guess we could talk about in the future. But for anybody who's never picked up a camera, I would hate to see them not know how the whole system works legally, thinking, oh, well, I just filmed this traffic stop. Let me just walk in this building. Now, you can do it, but if you don't understand the concepts of limited public forum, time, place, manner restrictions.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that one.
Yeah, all that stuff, that's what Turner versus Driver is all about. And we could talk much more about that in depth later, but the point I'm trying to make is that as soon as your 2 feet enter a government building, the weight of the law tilts much more in the government's favor. Even if you are allowed to be standing where you're standing, the government's power over you has tilted way more in their favor. Now, if you're on a public sidewalk, that's the crown jewel of any auditor, if that's the word to use, auditor. But if you're on a public sidewalk, that's a traditional public forum going all the way back to ancient times. So the government literally has to have, the most extreme reasons to say you cannot be standing on the sidewalk video recording. Like literally have a fire truck pull up next to you and the firemen are trying to put like a fire hose right where you're standing. Other than that, they're not supposed to be able to move you, So I just wanted to mention that is that for anybody out there that's new and thinking that this is just some game where you can just pick up a camera and do what you want, especially at all every state you're in also changes the playing field as well. But that's the main thing I want to just point out is that once you walk through the doors of a government building or you go on the curtilage, which is the outside area, don't just think you can say and do whatever you want, because that's not how the law views it.
Yeah, that's the main piece of advice I give to people that ask me, what should I do? I'm going to start a new channel. I usually tell them, when you first start, you need to stay on the sidewalk.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just the sidewalk is exactly what you said. It's just the ultimate place to be to exercise your First Amendment rights. Now, some people might argue the other way and say, that the ultimate place to be would be the more difficult place to be.
Except that that's just thinking with your balls and not your brain, because the law is against you in a lot of places, especially like where I live. I mean, you could say tough guy stuff like that all you want, but until you've actually picked up a camera and you've actually, I'm not even trying to act like a tough guy, but most of these people watching these videos, they don't know what it's like to actually have that cop in your face. Now, obviously, both of you guys do, and a bunch of the people watching probably do, but most people don't. So a lot of the comments I see in my channel is stuff like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that, you pussied out. I'm like, when's the last time you actually, did this? This is not a game. Like, this is for real,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's true.
Tommy's talking a little bit about your audio, Horizon. It's not that bad, but we can hear a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to upgrade my system here in the future, but for right now, I'm operating off my iPhone. That's all I got.
Yeah, we talked about it before we started. There's really not much we could do about it right now.
Can you hear me better now?
I mean, we can hear you fine. We can
Okay.
hear you fine. There's just a little bit of feedback every now and then.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not at home with my Wi-Fi. I'm here at a gas station.
So you're a married man?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm a bachelor. That's one of the only reasons I even started my channel, is that since I'm a bachelor with no kids, I felt like, that was one of the very few things I had going for me. Like I said, this is not a normal thing for normal people. I wouldn't suggest for most people to pick up a camera and do what I'm doing. And being a family man, which is what most normal people do, that eliminates a vast amount of the population from actually picking up a camera and doing this. Now, they can be activists in other ways, many other ways. But filming the police and all that, most people think it's crazy anyway. But for the very few people who are considering it, if you have a family and you have a good job, I would actually try to discourage you from doing this stuff, because it's not even worth it. There's other things you can do to support liberty.
Yeah.
True.
Since I had a family, it's been pretty difficult. I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm 40, and so I was able to wait till I was about 40 years old to have any children.
Well, I like I said, I don't necessarily plan everything on my life. I never ended up having children, but I'm not the type who had ever had plans to have them. A lot of people think I'm weird or whatever, but that's just me. I don't have any kids,
So if anyone wants to ask a question to these guys, stick it in the chat. If you want to ask a question, we'll see if we can get an answer.
Oh, thanks, man. M-Star Media, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, is that a channel? Is she a new channel?
She's not new. She's Los Angeles based. She does a lot of cop watches.
Okay. Maybe she knows Noli D.
Do you know Noli D, M-Star? Here, I'll put her link in the chat just a minute here.
I love all those LA guys.
There's a lot of them.
I always wondered if SGV and that SGV crew ever did stuff with the Tom Zebra people. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about that either. There seems to be some kind of division going on. I'm not sure if I'm not sure what the deal is. There's a lot of drama down there in California that I'm not really familiar with. I know there's drama, but I don't know where the lines are. I know there's
That's
lines,
California,
but I don't
man.
know where they are.
Yeah, right.
California is drama.
Yeah.
She says she knows Noli.
Yeah, Noli D is basically like a backstage operator for the Real News.
Yeah, the Real News Network, right?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Noli D. Every time they at the end of the Real News Network's police accountability report, they always thank Noli D. So I'm not exactly sure what she does, but she's some sort of like graphics editor or something. Like she does something to support the channel behind the scenes, and she has her own little channel with like 1,000 subscribers last time I checked. But that's Noli D is part of that, the Real News Network.
Yeah, that's Taya Graham, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Stephen Janis.
Stephen Janis.
Yeah, they just got married.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
wow.
see, and it fooled me too because they always act like they're just two like professional journalists, but at the same time, I always knew it. They were fucking like smooching the whole time. They're getting married.
Wow. I mean, they didn't seem like they'd be a couple to me.
I know they play it off really good, but on Facebook, I'm friends with both of them, and so they put all their pictures on, their news, like they post all that stuff. Like they had a picture of her in a white dress. They got married.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually reached out to the Real News Network back, I don't know, in the past. I never really heard anything back from them. I think that the Real News Network, I mean, and I don't know this. I don't want to make assumptions because I was just about to say, I just had some people in the comments today in one of my videos saying that, like, I'm a Marxist, Black Lives Matter rioter because
they said that about you.
Yeah, because that I record the police or something like that. And I replied to them because I would just describe myself as a constitutional conservative. Or a conservative in general,
Right.
So I'm definitely not a Marxist, but it's interesting that that they would think I'm a Marxist.
People they have stereotypes and phrases locked inside their mind, in their brain, and stuff just flies off their tongue, and a lot of times they don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Like anybody who records the police is Antifa or something. It seemed to be there.
Yeah, a lot of people around here in El Paso County, Texas, from time to time have accused me of being a goddamn liberal, which I don't know where that comes from because they've never even spoken to me before. But I'm more conservative than they'd probably ever realize. Like if you actually sat down and ate dinner with me and like picked my brain, I'm way more conservative than most people would think.
Yeah. I think that most of these channels are run by conservative people, or at least a large portion of them. I would say
it seems like it.
It seems like it could be 70-30 in favor of conservatives when it comes to constitutional auditing or cop watching. People are constitutional conservatives. That's why they're into it, because they want to conserve constitutional rights, or they want to restore or preserve these fundamental American values.
And then now you're getting into real philosophical stuff, because that goes all the way back to the founding of the nation, ever since the Revolutionary War. I mean, you had the Anti-Federalists and the Federalists fighting over states' rights, and how the government's going to be organized and who's going to do what. I mean, and the same mentality that exists today with 21st century technology, the same mindset goes all the way back to the founding of the nation, where people were saying, hey, this is how things should be run, and this is what happens if XYZ happens. Like, it's the same mentality. It's two different time periods, but it goes all the way back to the American Revolution.
No, that's true, and it has been going on ever since then. Big government, a lot of taxes, big government. The government knows best. Let us come in and fix everything. Versus no, individual rights, powerful cities and states, and kind of leave the government out of it. The government has its place, and let the states, kind of rule themselves. Yeah, that's been going on. You're right, since way back then.
Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, those are the two men right there that could, like, if you had just to make a very quick summary, you had, states' rights and small government with someone like Jefferson. And then you had, a central bank and larger military and more central federal government with Hamilton. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We could talk all night about that stuff, but that's exactly those two men right there will get you started if you want to talk about that type of topic. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we're talking about limited government, who could watch these kind of videos that we watch and not want limited government?
Oh my God! Don't even get me started, man.
I mean, you're talking about not just police, but you're talking about city clerks that don't know how to do a public records request.
And some of them even get nasty. They act like, like, why are you even in my office? Like New Mexico Citizens' most recent video is a perfect example of what you just mentioned. Where literally
exactly.
They act like it's a private business, and how dare he come to their office and make all these quote unquote demands,
Right, and he's just asking him to like just do a simple request according to the law.
Oh man, the mentality is just like with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, where I was trying to convince the Sheriff's Office, even before they put me in handcuffs, that Texas Penal Code 3802 says that I don't have to identify until there's probable cause for arrest. Now, the same type of controversy is almost identical with what New Mexico Citizen was going on with him when he was trying to do his open records request. Now, obviously, it's two different laws with two different situations. But literally, when he was trying to talk to the lady in the office, he said, "Hey, I have the law right here." He had it printed out. And he's like, "Just read it. It's right here. It's a paragraph. Read it." And she refused. And that's exactly what the Sheriff's Office did to me with the Texas Penal Code 3802. They said, "Oh, no, that's fine, sir. You can just take it to court and talk to the judge." They won't even read it.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen the follow up that New Mexico Citizen did. He came back to actually get his public records request, and when he walks into the office, they're recording with their cell phone,
and
they're recording
so it.
Yeah, they're recording it like we're recording this, and I'm thinking to myself, are you sure you want to be recording yourself doing this? And you see the same thing with the police. They'll point to their camera. They'll be like, "This is being recorded," as if the camera is in their favor somehow, when they're totally incompetent almost all of the time.
Well, but you got to understand, at least here in the state of Texas, the camera usually is in their favor, because if you actually try to access their recordings, there's plenty of laws that prohibit you from getting them. So that is exactly what happens. Is the cameras, a lot of the law enforcement here is actually embracing cameras, not because they're trying to help the people, but because the cameras help develop better cases to give to the DA. Now, if you want to get the camera recordings to expose government for some sort of misconduct, all of a sudden there's no access to the cameras. But if you're about to be brought to face some charges, the government has plenty of video recordings for that.
Hey, cameras, I'll be back in like 5 minutes. All right.
Okay. Yeah,
I think a perfect example is the El Paso Police Department has bought maybe between 20 to 40 cameras only specifically for the DWI task force, and I think maybe like the SWAT team. And the only reason they've done that, obviously, is because the cameras make better cases when they take them to court. But when it comes to having body cameras for the average patrol officer, they say, "Oh, we don't have the money for that."
Yeah, the cameras, they always say, cost tons of money, and they don't show the whole story when they want to put them on, the average officer on the street. They say the cameras don't show the whole story.
It's so funny you say that, because I actually I don't know if you've seen this one video I had from earlier this year. I had an actual El Paso police sergeant get in my face and accuse me of only presenting, quote unquote, one side of the story. Like, he hated my channel so much he couldn't resist walking up to my camera and saying I'm nothing but a troublemaker, and that all my channel does is present one side of the story. It's just one-sided. And of course, I disagree with them. I just record. The police do what they do. So if it's one-sided, that's his fault. That's his people's fault.
That's it. That's exactly the comment we have here from Provocation is a Virtue. He says cameras are mirrors. That's why people fear them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually, when people ask me what I'm doing sometimes with the camera, I say I'm just making an objective record,
Right,
because
right.
I know that's what they're really afraid of. And I could see why.
We're living in a time in human history with this technology that's so powerful where we can make videos. I mean, even just 20, 30, 40 years ago, sure, cameras and TV existed, but that's nothing like what we have today, where someone can just literally whip a device out of their pocket, press record, and have that video being seen by people around the world on YouTube as soon as it uploads, within minutes sometimes. Like, we're living at a special time period in history where there's a lot of old institutions that have never had to deal with this whole like situation we have, basically I'm telling people stuff they already know, but I'm just reminding them of the year 2022, like basically from about, I'd say 2014 to 2022, that's when cell phones really started getting powerful and could really make good recordings. And you see the progress, like the videos from 2014, 2015, 2016. Some of them are good, but some of them are like kind of crappy. But then once you get into like 2017, 18, 19, 20, everything is like crystal clear. Even some of the people on food stamps are able to make high quality videos, store them, put them up online. Like the whole technology is changing everything. And a lot of these old institutions in law enforcement and government, they're panicking. They don't know what to do. It's crazy for them.
Somebody was saying if there was this many cameras 40 years ago, we'd be in a different world today.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I hope that's true. But, one thing I think about is, they talk about the internet being the information age, and that goes along with cameras and everything. But it seems to me people are just getting dumber and dumber, and that this information age, like this access to information, it's not getting through.
Well, now, in my opinion, what you're talking about is it goes all the way back to Roman times and ancient Greece with bread and circuses. You have so many people that, especially the younger generation, I hate to sound like an old man, but they're just being fed bread and circuses, whether it's sports or video games or just all the crap that most people tune into has nothing to do with, where they came from and what the law is. So the people in power know this, and they, in my opinion, they just keep feeding the people bread and circuses, so that when that person gets pulled over by the police, most normal people are just going to go, "Oh, yes, sir. Okay. Oh, here's my ID," even if they don't have to give it, even if they're a passenger. Because last thing in the world that they've ever studied is the Fourth Amendment. They don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, because all they do is just, they just go home, watch sports, and get fed bread and circuses. And it's not even their fault. It's just the way things are,
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And that's where guys like us come in.
I feel pretty pessimistic about the whole thing, to be honest with you. I feel like I see the same shit happening over and over again. And you put out a video to expose a police department or something, and they just go cold. They just delete their Facebook page. They just delete their Google page. You call them up on the phone to complain, they just hang up on you. They just hang up, and everyone I talk to is belligerent.
Well, yeah, they're so used to getting all the bootlickers in there and all the, oh, thank you guys are our heroes and all that stuff, that when they hear something different, they just automatically, it's a criminal. It's someone who's obviously, just like a lot of people assume about First Amendment auditors. Oh, obviously, they're felons. They got arrested for committing some kind of felony, and now they hate cops. And so this is their way of getting back at them. And I'm like, Where is that coming from? Where are you getting that from?
Well, even if someone does have a criminal record, that shouldn't prohibit them necessarily from exercising.
Yeah, no, and it shouldn't. That's right. Exactly. It shouldn't either. Exactly right.
But then there's reality. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cameras everywhere. I hate to hear you say stuff like that about, well, like you're all doom and gloom. But the good news I can give you is that, you know, there's been many other times in human history where people have had to deal with much worse things, like, you know, I don't know, like droughts and famines and like all the male babies and male household members being slaughtered by the enemy army. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are not so good, but we have things pretty good overall. And the fact that we can even have this conversation right now on YouTube, if we were, for example, if we were 3 citizens in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for example, we would literally be speaking in fear, because as soon as this live stream would end, we could have like the King's Royal Guards drive up to our houses and throw us in the back of a van and just like drive off with us, and nobody ever hear from us again. So, you know, there's much worse places in the world, no matter what we complain about, you know?
Yeah. No, I see your point, and I know you're right. It's just, you know, looking at all this content all the time really brings me down, you know?
Oh, and then that's the next thing I want to say. And that's why you notice on my channel, I'll have this like complete 180-degree turns and make stuff that has nothing to do with cop watching, because the same thing happened to me. It wears on you mentally to be constantly in the echo chamber of constitutional, like anti-government, anti-police videos, because that's all you're thinking about all day, 24/7. And then especially like me, if I'm actually doing the recordings and living it, that it's not a natural, healthy lifestyle. It's not good. So you got to try to detach yourself. You got to find some healthy way to like, you know, break up all that negativity, because it's not a healthy way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I probably got like
the
cameras. Is I probably got like 4 or 5 more minutes, man. I gotta go spend some time with my mom. She needs some company. I got a medical issue going on with my dad, so we're he's actually in the hospital, so I've been kind of off and on keeping track of that and spending time with my mom. So.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'll probably cut it off pretty soon. So if anybody here has a question for either of these guys, stick it in the chat now, and you can have them answer it real quick.
I guess we got to ask New Hampshire. I guess we got to ask Breaking the Flaw why New Hampshire is the freest place on earth.
No income tax, no sales tax.
Oh, okay.
Some of these really old constitutional auditing or cop watch channels are from New Hampshire, like the Shire Society and stuff. You guys know about that?
Oh yeah. I'm not familiar with them, but that sounds familiar, and I've heard of other ones from New Hampshire. And yeah, even before YouTube was really big, like all the way in the early teens, I've always heard of different like radio stations and stuff like that, and websites from New Hampshire, because New Hampshire is all about, you know, like liberty and small government.
Yeah, there's a channel that I used to watch when I first started watching these called Free Keene.
Yep. Yeah, they have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, and he goes into government buildings and asks them these, you know, really fundamental questions, and they run away from the camera. And these videos I think these videos are like 10 years old from Free Keene.
Yeah, they've been around for a minute, and there was one really good video. I'll have to pull it up and send it to you sometime. And it was really getting me fired up. Those guys, they actually gathered together and drove up to the governor's house, which apparently the governor's house is like, you know, paid for by the state of New Hampshire, but still, they drove up there and like all formed in front of his house, and the state police came and like we're basically like making like a human wall to keep him out and stuff. I don't think they were even trying to go on the property, but yeah, they went to the government's house. I forget exactly what they were protesting about, but they were serious. They went all the way to the government's house.
Yeah, I think I actually seen that video. It's pretty recent, right?
It was in the last couple of years, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when you know that the police are not here to protect us. They're here to protect them from us.
Yeah, the state police were desperately scratching their head, trying to think of a way to arrest somebody for something. And even though this was like a rural area, like there's nobody for the closest neighbor is like probably like a half mile away, but somehow the state police were able to arrest at least one or two of them for disorderly conduct for like using a bullhorn or shouting too loud or something like that. They were just making up charges, and then that way, once they arrested one or two of them, I guess the rest just scattered.
Hey, Mass Accountability, man, how's it going? He's got some great videos. I love Mass Accountability stuff. Really good, really level-headed, cool speaking guy. Does good stuff.
I love how he went down to Florida and hooked up with Open Government, because those guys, that's like a little tag team right there, just tearing shit up. I love that.
Yeah, they're killing it out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'd definitely like to come down to Texas and get with both of you guys. Or I'd like to see you guys together. You're both in Texas, so.
Unfortunately, Texas is a very big place. I'm basically in New Mexico.
I was going to say, yeah.
Texas. So you're talking about hundreds of miles of distance right there.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's a long drive.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I mean, one of these days, anything could happen. All three of us should meet up at some point. You know, no need to uproot our lives all of a sudden, but at some point, yeah, that'd be great, man. I'd love to meet all of these people face to face, you know, all the people in the chat, you know, if there's ever a chance, you know, I'm in El Paso. If someone wants to pass through and you know, get my number and link up, man, that'd be great.
Well,
no pun intended, right?
Southeast.
Yeah.
You know, so if we do head southeast, we'll probably, well, maybe we'll go through Texas. I don't know, but maybe I'll try to hook up with both you guys.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
All right, I don't see any questions here. I saw one. Someone had said, "Where's Horizon at?" Horizon is in West Texas. It's Just a Camera is in where? It's Just a Camera.
Real South Texas.
What do you say? Real?
Like Brownsville?
Yeah, like exactly right there in between McAllen and Brownsville.
So he's literally at the farthest southern tip at the Gulf of Mexico, at the Mexican border. It's
true. If your feet stick out too far underneath your covers, your toes might touch Mexico.
I'm on the border as well.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for coming in. I think I'm going to cut it off here.
Okay.
New Mexico citizen, you guys are welcome to visit me in Taos if you ever get around this area.
Yeah, you guys feel free if you want to continue on. I just got to go.
No, I actually got to go too. I got my baby in here. I want to see her a little bit before she goes to sleep. So I'm going to leave you guys with a little clip from Horizon City News Service. Subscribe to Just the Camera. Subscribe to Horizon City News Service. The links are in the description. So click them, hit the subscribe button, and that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, man, thanks for inviting me. And I'm really happy you brought It's Just Camera on here. I'm really glad to meet up with them.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Same here. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, sure. You know, Rights Crispy just popped in here and then he popped out. Maybe he heard me say I was going to get off, so he just popped out. All right. All right. Well, maybe next time, Rights. If you come in, you can come in next time. All right, guys. Have a great one and good night.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
So you're making this a lot more difficult than it needs to be.
The Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says I don't have to self-incriminate. You got that?
So you don't want to answer questions then, right, sir?
That's the Fifth Amendment.
Why are you yelling?
I'm yelling because you're not
So what are you going to do? Why are you yelling?
Because you're not getting it. I'm telling you.
And I'm asking you for your ID.
And that's a question. I don't answer questions.
So give me your ID.
I'm in handcuffs right now.
Give me your ID.
But I'm not under arrest. In this state, you have to be under arrest to be forced to identify.
Sir, you're being detained right now.
Right, that's right. And
all we asked was your name, sir. That's all we asked.
Texas Penal Code 3802.
So I'm getting this straight. You're refusing to identify yourself.
Because I'm not under arrest yet.
Are you refusing to identify yourself?
I'm refusing to identify because in this state you do not have to identify if you're not.
Sir, that's not the way it goes.
Texas Penal Code 3802. You need to read the law, sir.
Sir, what is your name and date of birth, please?
I am not answering that question. I don't answer questions.
Okay. We'll just place you under arrest for failing to ID.
That is not the law.
Okay, let's go over, sir.
Let's go.
46.
Stop reaching
Step
in
right
your
here.
pockets.
Step
I'm
right
not.
here.
I'm just pulling up my pants, man.
Step right here.
You need to read Texas Penal Code 3802.
You want to identify yourself?
Texas Penal Code
You're under
3802.
arrest.
You need
You're
to learn
under
the law.
arrest. You're under arrest. Spiritual ID.
That's not the law, man.
24/7.
I'm not even trying to give you a hard time. That is not the law in this state.
Sir.
So if you're not trying to give me a hard time, so why don't you just provide your ID or your name and date of birth? All we do is just, and then you go on your way.
Deputy,
That's
I'm
all
trying
it
to,
is.
deputy,
That's all it is.
with all due respect, deputy, I'm trying to live under the laws of this state and this country. In this state, Texas Penal Code 3802 says I do not have to identify